5 Questions with LeRoy Butler. Now, here's Tom Silverstein.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to 5 Questions with LeRoy Butler. We're back just a few days after the Packers went to 1-0 with a big victory at US Bank Stadium. Yeah. And now they're looking ahead to the Detroit Lions, 2 NFC North games to start the season. That was a big win on Sunday. I think the Packers have to be feeling pretty good about themselves, don't you?
I really think they do. I know a lot of people probably want to discount it because of Minnesota had a very inexperienced secondary. But I have to give Matt LaFleur a lot of credit because coaches, they evolve sometimes on the run. And this offseason, it was all centered around the Jordan Love, how is Aaron Rodgers going to come in? Aaron Rodgers dismissed that and just continued to do what he's always done and play at a high level. But back to Matt LaFleur for a minute, him and Nathaniel Hackett, because they understand they want to be a running offense. We get that. I mean, duly noted, taking A.J. Dillon. But sometimes as a coach, you have to figure out, I may not go into this game one to throw it 44 times. Okay? It happens like that when you got such great matchups. And I applaud them because that's when you know your coach is starting to settle in. I'm going to use my talent against yours. Because it may be some weeks Aaron may only have 20 attempts because they're running the ball so well, Tom. So it's good for him to put Aaron in position to make some of the laser throws that he was making. And it really gave you an idea real quick that why didn't they take a receiver? Why don't they have weapons? Why don't they go get Antonio Brown? Why don't they go get these guys? They want to see how MVS is going to develop. And he had a couple drops, but that's what they saw, Tom. They saw him making that leap, as you would say, and they wanted to let him grow a little bit. The Allen Lazard, those guys, they want to see them grow a little bit, so I was okay with it.
Now, a couple of features of the offense that to me looked new or at least expanded. Mm-hmm. One was the amount of motion that they used on offense. I mean, I counted, went back and looked at it, and they used motion 42 times during the game. On 34 of their 74 plays, they had some sort of motion. And that's not just that jet motion with Tyler Ervin. We're talking about the tight ends moving, the wide receivers moving. And talking to Aaron Rodgers about it yesterday, he said that's here to stay. That's going to be a big part of their offense. What do you think that does for them?
Well, I say this as a safety my whole life. If you never moved or shift, it was easy for me to make plays on you. But every time you move a guy, I have to recalibrate. You know, Kendricks is a smart middle linebacker. He's seen it all. But it's a lot of guesswork with this motion and this offense because who knew that they would do a jet sweep with Allen Lazard? I think that caught Minnesota by surprise, and that block that Josiah DeGuara made on that was just like he was a veteran. So every time they move, it's almost like a misdirection offense. And we used to do that a long time ago with Kansas City and Steve DeBerg, the way he would stick the ball out and you had to guess whether or not he gave it or stood up and threw a pass. The ball handling of Aaron Rodgers helps with that. You know, he'll just touch it. Tyler Ervin takes it. All they want to get is 6 or 7 yards every time they do that. But now you're thinking about that, Tom. Now they'll go back with the screens. They run the ball. This offense has a lot of fluid to it. And I get what the barbershop is saying. All that defense in the secondary, they don't – listen, you play who you play. You're going to play Detroit. They also have a lot of injuries at cornerback. So my thing is to see this offense doing this had me so excited. And to see 500 yards and 43 points, the most against Zimmer's defense, is remarkable.
Yeah, and you're right. They will be facing another secondary that has some question marks in it. You know, the following week they'll play New Orleans, a much tougher secondary.
Yeah.
As Tom Brady found out on opening weekend. But for now, that's what they're challenges. But another aspect that I thought was really interesting was that the use of their tight ends. They used Robert Tonyan more than any other tight end, but they never threw to him. They moved Josiah DeGuara around like he was, Spider-Man or something.
Yeah.
And they used Mercedes Lewis and Jake Sternberger. Now, one thing that sort of occurred to me was that, when they had Jimmy Graham, he was not that flexible. He was not that guy that you can move around quite the same. He lined up a lot in that flex and slot position. Do you think they just have that never knowing where the tight end's going to be is a big advantage for them?
I think it really is, because I don't know how most defenses, they'll have DeGuara as a fullback or a tight end. Sometimes if defensive coaches, they'll say he's an 81, but we'll label him as a fullback because he's doing some of the fullback things and some of the H-back stuff. Each guy has a role. So they're going to do it by committee. But the good thing about it is whenever one of these guys or multiple guys in, it's almost like, because back in the 90s when multiple tight ends came in, Tom, it was for max protection, to go deep, or to run the ball when you pull your guard and tackle and you just have your tight end come around a bootleg or a naked. They're still going to do that kind of stuff, but it just bulks up your offense a little bit, and it really takes some stress off of the offensive line, because I don't know many people that will lose 2 starting linemen and still put up those numbers. So that's a great job by Matt LaFleur and his coaching staff.
Tell me if you think this might be the case. Do you think by taking away a guy like Jimmy Graham, who was sort of a safety valve for Rodgers, that it sort of forced him to spread the ball around a little bit, to not rely on one guy who he probably knew was going to run the right route and possibly be open, or at least catch it if he's covered? Do you think that might have helped Rodgers to spread it around a little bit more?
I mean, that's a good point, because you remember when Devontae Adams was out last year and Aaron was forced to throw everybody else, and 13 guys was catching balls a week. 11, 12 guys were catching balls. So once you take away the security blanket, you got to use everybody else. It could be something to that. And plus, the offense looks different without Jimmy Graham. It looks like, they're a little bit more flexible and they can do more things, although Jimmy Graham, brought something to the table because of his height, his size, and hands and things of that nature. And, he never missed a game because he was always available. But having it as a group, each guy brings something, which I think is pretty good in this offense.
Yeah, a lot of diversity in this offense. Just quickly, you touched on the offensive line and the injuries. Lucas Patrick came back in practice. So their decision now will be whether to keep. Billy Turner came back in practice. I assume he's going to play, but I don't think that's a given, and I don't think it's a given with Patrick either. Yeah. But let's say everyone's healthy. Would you put Billy Turner at guard and put Rick Wagner at tackle, or would you put Lucas Patrick at guard and Billy Turner at right tackle?
I would really put Billy Turner back at guard, because I know he can excel at that, and let Wagner, who I thought played pretty good, let him be your right tackle, and your swing guys would be Runyon and Patrick. You feel good about that. Runyon, I thought, did an exceptional job, not only knowing who to block, but all the hard counts. They got 3 first downs because of that, Tom. Last year when Rodgers did the hard count, they jumped 22 times. The opponent only jumped 6 times. So you got to put the right 5 guys in there, but put them in their natural positions. So that'll really help alleviate any kind of stress, knowing what to do. Now Aaron Jones can run certain angles and things of that nature, and you feel good about the depth of it. So I guess the new rule, too, having 8 guys really helps you as well.
Yeah. Well, let's flip sides now. I think in some ways there were 2 games played defensively. One was the first half or 3 quarters, and then the other was the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And the first 3 quarters, the first 3 quarters was pretty good.
Yes.
And then the fourth quarter was a disaster. What did you see?
Well, first of all, Chris Barnes, I mean, I didn't see that coming at all. I really didn't. I was like, where did they find this guy? I mean, you were thinking you were going to see Sullivan down there or one of the defensive backs or Summers or Owen Burks. You just didn't know what they were doing, but the Packers seemed to always had a plan. I thought that kid played fantastic. Second leading on the team in tackles. I wanted to see how Kirksey would control the defense, and he really did, because you would think taking away Blake Martinez, say what you want about him, that's a lot of tackles. But you also saw guys, when Kenny Clark goes out, other guys got to step up. They really do. But you saw Jair Alexander just getting to that next level, although he had a few issues, because one of the things, Tom, on that, I thought it was a cat defense where you blitz, but they said it was kind of guesswork.
Yeah.
He thought it was run and just continued on. I don't want, like my kids, I don't want to reward bad habits, but you made a play. So if they can go back and continue to put him on the number one receiver and he'll get his opportunities at interception, I think that really helps your defense. But, I'm still a little bit worried in the secondary that, 26 and 31, they're going to have to clean up a lot of stuff. So they can't get beat deep like the Allen Thielen over, Savage's head and stuff like that.
Yeah, not when you're ahead by that much. You just can't give those plays up, right?
Yeah, you would think that you just. And one of the things they did they put Zadarius Smith on the inside, and now you can bring the Rashad Gary in, makes you a little bit more athletic. But they're going to have to figure out a way to not the explosion plays, Tom. Those are the ones over 25 yards. Because we all know about Matthew Stafford. Okay, he's going to want to throw the football. But Adrian Peterson's been around. You've watched his whole career, and so have I. They're going to want to run the ball. But, again, the defense has some areas that already you must clean up, because there's some areas that you had last time you played San Francisco that are still glaring. But they won the game.
When I watched the game, as I'm watching it, I'm looking at the stats. I'm like, well, Dalvin Cook didn't really kill him. Alexander Madison didn't kill him. But then I go back and I look at the tape, and I'm seeing things that reminded me of last year. Like on one of Dalvin Cook's 2-point conversions, Preston Smith just suckers in and doesn't protect the edge, or you see guys out of their gaps again. And I think that's worrisome. And I know that defensive line coach Jerry Montgomery said yesterday that he's disappointed in the way they played up front, especially after Kenny Clark went out. And so they have to be ready, because Adrian Peterson ran for 93 yards last week.
And he was on down.
He's got a great history against the Packers. He's had some monster games against them. And even if he's 47 years old, I still think he's got some talent left.
Yeah, they're going to have to make some adjustments, because that was one of the things after the San Francisco game, making adjustments. But the coaches say, well, the scheme is there. Guys just got to get in the proper gaps and things of that nature. So you thought it would be an issue coming into this year. Everybody knows now they're going to try to run the ball on the Green Bay Packers. They just are. So in the thing about it, I think with Kenny Clark, I would sit him out to after the bye week. You don't mess with these groin injuries. The Montravius Adams and the Kikis, Dean Lowry and Lancaster, they got to rotate in there. And they just got to hold the point of attack to make sure these big linemen don't get out on your linebackers, because that's when you can get an issue. If the guards are leading up on Kirksey, it's going to be an area where your safeties are making all the tackles.
Yeah, it's going to hurt not to have Kenny Clark. They'll feel it. I mean, he hasn't been ruled out, but you're absolutely right. You cannot mess with those groin injuries.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're going to be looking to see whether there's, a muscle tear or something that, may need to be repaired. You can come back in a month from those, but, I'm sure that's something they're looking into. And so we'll see. maybe it was minor, maybe not. They're obviously not going to tell us, but we'll find out. And I agree with you. That's a touchy thing.
Yeah.
So all in all, they're heading into the second NFC North game. How do you see this thing coming out?
Well, I tell you what, it's a very important anytime you have these North games, because if you don't win your division, it's tough to even. I mean, you can still make the playoff with the expansion they've done, but you want to try to get that game at home. And although it won't be any fans there, and it's going to be hard when you go in the stadium, you don't see fans. So they got a chance to experience it last week in Minnesota. But they're going to have the tarps out and things of that nature. But Matt LaFleur has his team prepared. They practice in an empty stadium. So they'll get past that part. But, it's imperative to put everything on Matthew Stafford, because Matthew Stafford can throw you a lot of picks, but he can put up some gaudy yards as well. So, and they're a little banged up. Their team was a team that wasn't the greatest, but they're already really banged up. So I expect the Green Bay Packers to go in there and do some work. 38-20 is what I'm looking at. Because I really feel like if you can continue to score 30 points every week, you're going to win a lot of games. But you can't be like the 15-1 year, Tom, when they were just winning shootouts. The defense weren't playing well, giving up a lot of yards. So I see it being, like I said, 38-20. The shock of not doing the leap is going to catch some people by surprise, mainly myself. But I look for them to just get back on track, because going into that New Orleans game, you want to be undefeated.
Okay. You have some people you'd like to thank.
Yeah, I want to thank Vinny's, VinnySausage.com. You can go there at VinnySausage.com and look at my new brat. You can even contact him and ask him about their Ivanhoe's Pub and Eatery in Racine. I appreciate them. And they also had the LeRoy Butler burger as well. You could get that. And again, Pick and Save has always been great. I'm working with Pick and Save now to get over 100 turkeys for families around Thanksgiving. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really great. A lot of people hurting around this time. And
absolutely. We're going to help as many people as possible. I am so excited for X and O's. Bill Schultz, our executive producer, came up with this new stuff. So stay tuned for that. I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is going to be really cool. Also, I'll remind you that we will be live after the game again. It was really popular, and that's going to be a regular feature, except maybe those night games when we got to go to bed, because neither of us can stay up past midnight,
Yeah, we'll make it work. Don't worry.
We're way too old for that. So anyway, thanks for joining us, and don't forget to check in with X's and O's. See you next week.
Bye.